So the three reasons why the boom isn't working for women are the difference in working hours of males and females, difference in pay and evidence of a widening pay gap, and thirdly, difference in roles of employment and inherent discrimination. According to the World Economic Forum, based on my date of birth, I'll be 152 years of age by the time the UK gender pay gap is closed. On average, for every £1 a male earns in the UK, a female earns 80p, with the UK average salary for women reported at £19,000 compared to just over £28,500 for men. As an academic, the recent UCU Gender Pay Gap report makes for some interesting reading. In higher education, for all academics, the overall gender pay gap is 12.6%, meaning that females are paid 87.4% of men's wages. In the UK, females account for 7% of the share of women on the boards of listed companies. In terms of roles that males and females undertake, the composition of legislators, senior officials and managers is 35% female and 65% male. Today, women make up 60% of junior managers, 40% of senior managers, but just 20% of senior managers. Following the 2015 general election, there are now 458 male MPs and 191 females. Since 1918, only 450 women have been elected to Parliament. That's 8 less than the current number of male MPs. This brief overview gives some small insight into the current relative positions of males and females in the UK. There is, as will be presented, some signs of progress, but it doesn't go unnoticed that the senior roles and positions of influence are overwhelmingly dominated by males, which may result in female issues being underrepresented or overlooked, particularly in the strategic planning process. Focusing on the North West, there are statistics that help illustrate the point that the Manchester boom is just not working for women. Firstly, the working hours of females. The World Economic Forum reports that 38.4% of females work part-time in the UK, compared to 11.7% of males. To give this a local perspective, according to figures compiled by the TUC, 39% of women working part-time in the Wigan Borough are struggling on low pay, earning below the living wage. Neighbouring West Lancashire, which includes Apley Bridge, Parbold, Wrightington and Skelmersdale, is ranked number 1 in the blacklist for women working part-time in Great Britain, with 73.9% earning less than the living wage. Therefore, females have a 4 in 10 chance of working only part-time, and of those, almost 75% are in low-paid, below the living wage work, possibly facing in-work poverty. It's a hardly booming economy for the women of our region. If the levels of women in full-time work were increasing and remuneration provided to women on part-time hours brought them out of poverty, one could argue that the boom is having a positive impact on women in the region, but on this evidence, it simply is passing them by. Secondly, pay differences in the North West and a widening pay gap. A report using data from the Office of National Statistics shows that there is a marked difference in pay growth between men and women in the North West. Average pay per hour for men working full-time rose 0.9% last year to £15.47, whereas women in full-time work saw their pay fall by 0.1% to £13.40. The report stated that the growing pay divide now means that men in full-time work are being paid 15% more per hour than women. So in pure statistics, it's getting worse for women in the North West when compared to the nation as a whole, where the gap is shown to be slowly decreasing. One reason for this growing divide is that many of the roles which have thrived in the region in recent years have traditionally been male-dominated. Sharp pay rises will be enjoyed more by men than women. The reported pay rise in male-dominated industries contrasts sharply with the pay fall reported for full-time workers in caring, leisure and other service occupations. This type of employment tends to have a prior proportion of female workers, and workers in these sectors saw their pay decrease by 2.5% to £17,000. In the North West, it could be argued that it's not improving for women, it's getting worse, and women are being left behind. Finally, employment differences and inherent discrimination. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research cites 2 main reasons for this widening divide. The first is the lack of women in certain industries and specific jobs. Significantly, women continue to lag in the STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths fields, especially in maths. In the UK, women make up just 15% of all people working in STEM. The roots of this problem are found in women not studying STEM subjects in the first place. The boom in STEM industries would lend itself to the assertion that this is a boom for the boys. For example, the finance sector has grown significantly in Manchester in recent years, and this has its roots in maths. Until growth in female participation and the take-up of STEM subjects improves, I fear that the gains will not be felt equally by males and females. As with many things, it starts at school. And any boom now in STEM industries is not going to assist women today. It will only help women who train in those industries in the years to come. A second point which is of particular interest is that research by Catalyst shows that women are promoted based on proven performance, whereas men are promoted based on their potential. It's clearly much quicker to talk the talk than to walk the walk. The National Bureau of Economic Research reports that women's career choices are affected by motherhood and family. Motherhood is a penalty for women, and mothers are perceived to be less competent and less committed. For men, there is a premium for being married. A separate study by the Chartered Management Institute found that women who returned to work following maternity leave experienced lower pay and fewer promotions for decades after their return to work, and actually they're encouraged into part-time or less challenging roles. So it would appear that indirect discrimination is rife in many a workplace. So why is it important that firms don't overlook females? Sodexo found that where workforces have 40 to 60% female employees, profits increase. A more diverse workforce can improve a company's bottom line. A 2014 study by Gallup found a number of reasons for this. Different market insights and viewpoints enable better problem solving and superior performance. There's evidence that gender diversity in executive teams is connected to company earnings. According to a 2012 McKinsey quarterly report, earnings before interest and tax at the most diverse companies were 14% higher on average than those at the least diverse companies. In the same year, Credit Suisse made a link to stock performance, stating that stocks of large cap companies with at least one female board member outperform those with all male boards by 26% worldwide. In short, it would appear that any boom the Northwest is having could be improved if women were better represented at senior management and board level. The absence of women at the top is clearly hindering our boom. So what can be done? The government will require firms with more than 250 employees to demonstrate greater pay transparency, but we won't see the results of this until 2018. Women and Select Committee Chair Maria Miller says that the government's ambition to eliminate the pay gap is not matched by its policies. She claims that the government's requirement to publish pay information could be overly simplistic. Positive strides can be made through raising awareness, forums such as this, listening to hidden voices. But it is in line with basic economic principles that gender diversity is likely to give a firm a competitive advantage. Selecting from a full talent pool rather than picking the best from a closed group will allow you to be more successful. So in conclusion, addressing the three issues presented, closing the gap that exists between males and females, can help Manchester to prosper, and then we can have a boom that we can really be proud of.